Hello and welcome to Interview with DJ Nocturna. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Well, I'm very, very happy to have on the show um, an evolutionary astrologer. I believe she is. Her name is Jessica Shepard. She is an intuitive healer as well, and an accomplished author of several books, and an artist. And we're here to talk a little bit about one of her books, which is the latest book called Follow the Moonlit Path. Come home to yourself in the astrological fourth house. And of course, she also wrote a book on the fifth house called Karmic Dates and Momentary Mates. And then one of your first book is a Love Alchemist Notebook, Magical Secrets for Drawing into True Love into Your Life, and the Venus Signs. And I want to talk to you about that next time. But yeah, and of course, you've got your Intuitive Energy Divination deck, which I'm really excited for. And of course, you live in Hawaii, so it's so perfect to talk about the fourth house.
So great.
So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Me.
I'm so grateful to Alice for introducing us like what is it, like 3 years ago or something like that. You had there was some kind of event that she put together, and then you were there, and then you brought all your books, and then of course I'm gonna go to an astrology workshop of some kind, right? So I love astrology, and there you were. And so and you know, I love the fourth house because even though it's probably the really, for me, is probably the hardest house. I don't know if you what you think of that, but for me, because I know what it represents, and it's a deep house, and I happen to have Pluto going in there and like pretty soon.
Yeah. The fourth house is it's kind of mysterious. It doesn't I think when I published that book, what I heard a lot from people was, I'm so glad somebody finally wrote about it because I didn't understand my fourth house. And so, you know, it's kind of this part. And when we talk about houses, we're talking about, of course, areas of our life, right? For those who don't know astrology. So we're talking about an area of our life experience. Is the fourth house. And what it represents is kind of that Cancerian kind of area, which has to do with home, hearth, family, rootedness, sense of belonging. But it also has all these like interesting nuances to it. It has to do with our psyche, like our deepest psyche, our childhood roots, our really personal felt sense of family, and whether we fit into that or we didn't, and also like our innermost self. And that's kind of the perspective I wrote from when I was exploring this topic. I was having a Pluto transit too. And
I know, yeah.
I see like you are having currently. So, you know, I was having to dig deep, as so we'll have us dig deep into, do I want to be in California anymore at that time, right? It was because the fourth house has to do with, on a very practical level, we can talk about practical, we can talk about psychological, spiritual, but on a very practical level, it is the geography, oftentimes, of our home and our home environment. So when we get a big outer planet transit, like what you're experiencing, you know, it can be like all of like that kind of where I live and my family, and those very nuts and bolts of how you're relating to that at the moment, right?
Yeah. You know, I love your book because I could totally relate to it now, especially. And then as I was mentioning to you earlier, you know, I was looking up asteroids, right? And
Yep.
that asteroid Shepherd happens to be 2 degrees in Aquarius, which is 2 degrees very close to my IC natally, the asteroid Shepherd natally. And then the transiting Shepherd asteroid is on my fourth house.
What degree is the transiting? Just curious.
16
16
degrees.
Aquarius.
Yep.
Transiting right now. That is fascinating to me. And for people
Yeah.
who don't know, and I didn't know this, so I always love to learn something new, even though I've been in the field since I was 18 years old, right? And I know that there's like asteroids for everything. So for people who don't know, there's like, people are naming asteroids left and right. I mean, the sky is full of millions of objects. And so people are discovering these objects and naming them for reasons of synchronicity and who discovered it and what was going on in the world. Usually that's how this happens. But I hadn't even been aware of
That's
the
a
asteroid named Shepherd. And now I'm wondering what's going to happen when, that Pluto meets up with that at some
oh
point.
yeah.
The speed. I wonder if I'm going to like have some kind of Shepherd moment.
Oh yeah, because it would be it would be in Aquarius for you, right?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know where the asteroid. No, I don't know.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
know the speed in which it moves. So at some point, I'm imagining Pluto would meet up with the asteroid because they
oh
typically
yeah.
are slower, typically than planets. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm really fascinated with asteroids. And I know there's so many asteroids, and of course, everybody there is a shepherd in everybody's shepherd would be in everybody's chart, but it's all different. But it's just ironic. It just happens to be in the fourth. But so we're talking about the fourth house.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So
Yeah.
I know Dan Rudyard. I mean, he mentioned, and you mentioned that in the book, that is what's a most significant house, and yet least understood. And I can
Mhm.
totally see that now, because it is difficult. It's like, I mean, I'm still trying to understand how it relates to my family, my back, my when I'm growing up and my family roots and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Like,
what made you decide to? I know you were having a Pluto transit, but besides that, I mean, did you? Because this is like, I mean, there you could have written about the first house or the second house or that kind of thing, right? Is it
mhm.
because of just a Pluto transit? What just want you wanted to just leave California?
That's what inspired the book, wanting to leave. No, I don't really know what, like the magic. I can't really give it you know, um, one actual event or one thing that was going on in my life. The kind of magic and inspiration that comes together to create a book on a topic is kind of really mysterious and interesting to me. What I do know that I had started a piece of work, and this often happens with me in my process. I had started a longer book years ago, which contained a small piece of what became that book, and it was
Mm.
a more comprehensive. It was like the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and
Oh,
yeah. And so, but it wasn't, as dense as you have now. And I just pulled that out at that time and I just started playing with it, I think because of course the topic resonated with me. And also, I was ready. I was engaged in the mystery and the curiosity of like you are going through, like, what is this whole fourth house thing? How am I holding this experience, right? Like, where is it taking me? What kind
mhm.
of journey am I going on here? And I ended up just creating my own little, metaphor for that, which was follow the moonlit path, right? And going like on a treasure hunt and just kind of one foot in front of the other, trying to figure out what could this house mean to me? What is my experience right now? Which is a great question to always to begin with astrology, right?
I mean, did you always wanted to come to Hawaii, or was that something that triggered it during that when the transit hit?
Oh, absolutely. I cannot separate the transit from moving here. And I knew I had to leave. I knew I
I
was
know.
like had this sensation that if I'm here for even one more year, I'm gonna like lose my soul. It was really dramatic feeling, right? Because Pluto, right? Pluto's just that kind of sense of I've got to do this or die, or it was just really like that for me. And I told my husband, I said, I have to, it's time to go. And he didn't want to go. He wasn't ready. He said he wasn't ready. I didn't believe him.
I know you. I mean, you were mentioning that people were crashing into your car. Somebody was I don't know if somebody broke into your house. I mean, something like that. I mean, there are all these things like pushing you, like Pluto, like
Yep.
pushing you. Okay, time to move. You gotta do something.
It was not pleasant. It was not pleasant. And I don't know if some of that was avoidable, if I would have been able to like move it along a little quicker. I don't know, but my husband was in resistance to me, and I was having these discussions. He wasn't listening to me about this. And, then the world was crashing into there. A tree fell on my office, or near my office. I shouldn't say on. It fell within inches of my office.
Wow.
Right. That was kind of the, okay. That was my wake up call. Okay. I'm done trying to communicate. I'm just going to give an ultimatum now. Things are getting too crazy. It's ultimatum time. So that's what I did. I said, I'm moving. You want to come? If you don't want to come, we'll figure out a way to work it out. I've heard that people can have marriages where two people are in different places, and it's not ideal, but if that's what you want, okay. And that got his attention.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess
Right?
it's also fated that he had to go with you somehow.
I mean, the move worked out so incredibly well for him.
Yeah,
So
he
incredibly
got
well for him.
here. Yeah, that just worked so well. Everything just flowed, right? I mean, when you follow whatever Pluto wants you to go, everything would just flow. Yeah.
I think that there's just that law, and I've always used to say this to clients of when you follow your authentic self, when you follow the treasure in your soul, when you just trust it more than anything else, more than all the doubt and the worries and the fears, that the universe is going to come up. And you can call the universe a planet, you can call it whatever you want. Divine consciousness is going to come up and lift you up and support you and kind of roll out the red carpet. And that's literally what happened here. There were so many red carpets that rolled out, and they continue to roll out. It's really awesome. So
And so now you made Hawaii your home, and you really feel at home here. I mean that was a long transit, I'm sure, because Pluto is the longest. It's the
yeah,
planet that stays forever in that sign.
it's still in my fourth house.
Oh,
It
it
hasn't
still is.
left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah,
All
that's
this
right.
happened right when it was going over the cusp.
Oh,
Yeah. So
wow.
angles are really powerful in astrology. I never underestimate that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I know. I'm kind of dreading this Pluto going into my fourth house, but because it represents many, many things, and I know exactly what it does. And yeah, but I totally get it. I mean, we just have to embrace it and just follow your authentic self.
Yeah, and I think that of course the most important thing for Pluto is to be honest with yourself,
Hmm.
right? To be honest about things when they come up and about what it is you need, and do it.
No,
Yeah.
that's so true. So I know you studied under Stephen Forrest, and can you tell us a little bit about how you got into astrology?
Yeah.
The very beginning.
Um, yeah. The it really is more the story of being initiated as a healer and how I became a healer. And that was like many people who become healers, they become really sick. They need healing. And I became really sick when I was young, pretty young. I was still in high school. And I became so sick, couldn't graduate with my class. So I lost all my friends, and I went through a real dark night, right? As you can imagine, being a teenager and feeling alienated and alone, and nobody knew what was wrong with me either. So that sucked. And that was also the era of AIDS. So there was kind of this, what's wrong with her, and rumors, right, around that. So it was just, as you can imagine, really, really tough. And so that journey that I was on for years led me to healers, and also led me to one particular healer who was an astrologer. And that astrologer healer gave me a reading and told me things about myself that, my, at the time, 18-year-old self was like, oh my God, how could you know that? Right. And that's what astrology does for many people. It kind of validates, and you feel seen in ways that nobody perhaps has seen you before. So definitely that age, I hadn't felt deeply seen, and I felt like she was deeply seeing me. And that just piqued my curiosity. And then I had so much time on my hands because I wasn't able to attend school and I wasn't feeling well. And so I would go and hang out at the bookshop. And I happened to live like down the street in both places that I lived, synchronicity again, right? Like on one place I lived during that time in Albuquerque, I lived on the same street as a New Age bookstore, the exact same street. Maybe it's my Jupiter and Aquarius in my fourth house. I don't know. And then the other place I lived during that time, I was, within 3 or 4 blocks from the only New Age bookstore in town. So I would just camp out there and I couldn't afford the books, but I would read and journal and write down what I could. And that began the journey where I just ended up, my Saturn return, studying with an astrologer, deciding that I wanted to become a counseling astrologer. And I did that, a mentorship with him for 7 years. And I was also counseling others at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then that eventually led me to Stephen Forrest as well. And I did his apprenticeship program. So
I know, this is so amazing. Yeah. I love Stephen Forrest. And I'm still learning a lot about astrology, and I happen to have Saturn in my fourth house, which is so scary. I got this really challenging. I don't know. I got Saturn and an Erotic degree in the fourth house. It's actually 29
mm-hmm.
degrees Aquarius. So yeah, I guess when Pluto hits that 29 degrees in Saturn, I don't know what that means, but I'm I guess I won't be in for another 20 years, but
you got a lot of work before then. Don't have to worry about that now. No.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this book is so amazing. I love the cover as well. It's so like fourth house, this cover.
Yeah, one of the archetypes of the fourth house is your innermost self and your inner child, kind of that part of you that inner child part of you that is maybe more introverted and shy and private and interested in imaginary friends and books and just being inside yourself. And so that seemed to feel right with that cover for me.
I noticed that since Pluto is entering my fourth house, I feel a little bit more internal. I don't really like to go out as much as I did. I like to stay more like solitary, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens to someone going through a Pluto transit?
Yes. And it was our friend Alice. I'm going to bring her into this because I remember, so when I first got here, I was experiencing multiple Pluto transits. Pluto was still going over my IC, right, when I first moved to Hawaii. And then it soon thereafter, it squared my moon, went over my IC, posed my midheaven. So there's that component of that too. And then opposed my Venus. So all of this, I've been in a really long Pluto transit. I remember Alice, I told her this, and she said something like, she used this metaphor of when you're having a Pluto transit, it's like when you're getting ready to go on a date. Maybe you've heard this before from her, and you're getting ready in the bathroom, but you're just never feeling quite ready. So you just don't want to come out of that bathroom until you're ready. And you're not really going to be ready until that Pluto transit's over, because you're doing such deep, these is my words. She used the bathroom metaphor, but I found it really interesting about not wanting to come out of the bathroom because you're doing this internal work. And often it's so deep, you don't even realize you're doing it, and so this process, I think of letting go and shedding old skin and, going back into history and releasing. It's not stuff we typically do in the public eye, right?
Yeah, something really personal.
Yeah.
And the opposite of the fourth house is the 10th house, right? And somehow that's connected too, right?
Sure.
And that's more of like the more visible, the you want to shine, you want to do this and career and all that stuff. And I have that in Leo.
Yeah. So often when we go through something in the fourth house, it's going to change the way we show up in the 10th house, but it's going to take time to integrate. So I like the metaphor of the fourth house being the roots, underneath the tree, and then the 10th house being the flowers and the fruit that the tree is offering to the world. And, especially if you're going through a kind of a more inward looking time and getting down into those roots and kind of figuring out what's there and figuring out what's old and figuring out what's stuck and, just being with yourself in that dark space. It's going to take time for something to come up and, flower and fruit in the 10th house. And I think it's going to be different from what it ever was before. And that's my personal experience. And that kind of, that's what, you see, I wrote astrology books for a really long time. Well, I decided to switch gears and move into a different aspect of my calling.
Yeah, I know it's a very deep, I know it's going to take like 20 years. This Pluto transit, I think is, I don't know, something like 20 years. So that's a long time. Um, yeah, I guess I'm ready. I'm embracing myself, bracing myself for a long journey.
Yeah.
But it'll be okay. I'll be okay. You're okay.
I'm okay. I made it.
I know,
Made
yeah.
it to the other side. Pluto's still my fourth house, but it's not. I finished I'm going to have a final wind up of Pluto opposing my Mercury at 28 degrees Cancer at the end of the year when Pluto retrogrades. But I kind of have a perspective now. Let's just say that I have a perspective, and I don't think there's anything to fear but the unknown.
But it is a rewarding thing for you, right? What everything you went through. You wrote a book. You wrote all these books during the Pluto transit.
Well,
Right?
not all these books. I wrote the fourth house book. Yeah, definitely during that transit. And I also did all of the work that became the card deck.
Yes.
All of the work. 4 years of work that became inner work. And that's what the card deck is. It's my inner work from that time.
Yeah, so these cards, I love how you put this cards. It says, so this cards, if anybody's available, if anybody's interested, it's called Intuitive Energy Divination Deck. And it's 58 card decks.
Can I hold it?
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And I like it because it says made with love and aloha.
Oh yeah.
And so these drawings are yours as well, right?
Yeah, so I did everything on this deck. I didn't, in other words, I designed it. I didn't draw, I didn't draw these things, but I designed it. I used, actually used canva.com and, so I created it, but, these are all influenced, of course, by where we live, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I see a lot of the Venus theme on here, because of the shell and the, that kind of thing. So how did you come up with the titles for each card?
So I've been a writer for many years, since maybe 2003 or 2004 when I started putting my work out there in a public way. But this was the first time I've ever channeled. So I feel, because it felt differently, this was different. I channeled this work. And so the words just came through. And, I have to say too, like I said, it was like 4 years of inner work. So I'm familiar deeply and intimately with every single word and everything in here. It's become a part of me, but it just came just like that, one right after another, and happened very quickly. And also with the guidebook, the descriptions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so lovely. I like how we Alice had another like more recently she did another event, and we kind of went through this with
Yeah.
the class, and you are offering. I know if people want to check out your website. Your website is called moonkiss.com, which is
Yeah.
Kiss. Now Kiss is K is
Right.
MOONKISSD.com, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Thanks.
so tell us about that. I know that I know you have a class, right? You're doing a
Ew. Yeah. Yeah. Look, so based on on the card deck, the card deck it helped me to connect with my own inner guidance. I mean, that's why I created this card deck,
Mhm.
to transition from working with a intuitive healer and channel as a teacher and become my own guide. I was just ready to just own it, right? To go, I can get the information that I need about anything from inside myself. Very empowering step, very empowering place for me to be. And so I created this so that I would kind of always have support in my back pocket, honestly. And then when I kind of, I don't know, started playing with it, I was like, oh, I think other people might find this really helpful as well, right? So it's been kind of an evolution of seeing how this is going to go into the world for me. And I decided that it just felt good to be able to offer these practices, energy practices, this understanding of what guidance is and how we feel into it, and how connection, like being connected in our body, is so important to being able to just have intuitive insights, to be able to know a yes from a no, to know what resonates. Like I was saying before we got on a call, like, and this is how I do things now, but I was telling you that when you asked me to do this interview, it was just an immediate yes. And it was like a full body sense of ease.
Mhm.
And that told me that we were going to have an easy conversation. It was going to feel in alignment with me and good. Now, I've had invitations that I have not had that experience around. And so these are kind of, as I've grown into my own intuitive self, which I also consider as part of our true self connection, without all that crap of conditioning that, oh, you can't possibly, know what's right for you in the future, or you can't possibly have premonitions, or you can't possibly call yourself an intuitive, that's too woo-woo or mystical or scary, or only God can do that, and all of these beliefs, right? I just no, I am now in my embodied intuitive self more than I've ever been. And I started realizing, especially when we were going through COVID, how important it is for people to feel connected to themselves and feel like there's somewhere inside that they can turn to get the real truth, not out there.
Oh yeah.
And not having to see an astrologer, even not having to go to a psychic, and not having to ask for advice from family, but actually there's a way that you can source your own truth. So that's how this kind of came to me, with the idea for a class to kind of, just teach what I've learned, to expand your own connection with,
Mhm.
what's holding you back from self-trust, and how to have more kind of magical experiences in life.
Do you want to show a sample for people, like how people, like if they were to buy a card, like how would they do this? How would they begin? Or like,
How do you do it? I know you've used the deck, so I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
very
yeah.
curious. I'm very curious. Is it too personal to ask you to pull a card on your
Oh
own
no,
show when you're having
I'll
a
pull a
Pluto
card.
transit?
I'll pull it. So should I focus on, so for people that don't know how to do these decks, right? Let's just say somebody who doesn't, they would have to just pull depending. It doesn't matter how you shuffle it or anything like that, right?
It's totally intuitive and up to you. So
Yeah.
I just say follow your own instincts there. Some people like to do it differently.
Okay. Okay. So how many cards should I pull?
So typically I just suggest that first, if we were like, doing this, we just make sure that we're both here and centered and in the room, which we are. We're talking to each other. We're both in the same space. So I would say that's the first step anytime you pull a card, because a lot of people sometimes go, I don't get the right card. And it's kind of my first question. Are you actually here? So
Okay.
just make sure you're here. And so you're shuffling the cards, or you're getting kind of putting your intentionality and your
Okay.
energy
So
around
I
the
gotta
card.
put my attention. Okay. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
would,
focus. What should I focus on?
yeah, I would suggest asking a question. So what
Oh,
does spirit want me to know about?
okay.
And it's up to you.
Okay. I'll say what does spirit want me to know about my transit when Pluto goes into my fourth
Mhm.
house in Aquarius.
Perfect.
Okay.
And so I would start with one card, and I never go past three, but sometimes one will come out with another one, or,
Okay.
again,
Okay.
use your intuition about how
Okay.
many you need to pull here.
Okay. And it doesn't matter how we shuffle the cards, right? Depends on however anybody can just do it however they want. Okay.
However you want. I think the only thing to just kind of be aware of is just how you like to choose cards. Like sometimes you feel an energy under your hand as you
Mhm.
roll your hand over one card, or you just know, right, that this is the card for you to choose. So just kind of tune in.
And I really love the wording on this card. Some says back to basics, divine orchestration, oneness center. I just love all of that. And they're all like really, really good wording. I mean, good choices of words, I guess you could say.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm shuffling it now, and I'm putting my focus on my transit on my fourth house, Pluto. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna wait for something to fall out
Sure.
or turn or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Everything came out. Okay, sorry. So if that happens, Pluto's getting aggressive. Okay, I think this is it.
There you go.
Judgment 33.
Mm, yeah. Have you seen this card before? Are you familiar with it?
No, I mean I've seen it, but I can't remember what it meant. I have to look.
Yeah.
Well, another one? Or
If What do you feel?
I think I'll go with this.
Okay.
Oh wow. Hmm. It's about all is held in divine perfection.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to read any part of it?
Yeah, sure, I can read it. To the ego, this is the world of right and wrong, and for the soul, it's in between the world of right and wrong exists absolute peace and perfection. The appearance of this card suggests you are making yourself feel badly by judging that you or another have done something wrong, are wrong, or worse, there's something wrong with you. Where are you stuck in judgment, being unduly harsh? Are you looking at life through a lens of black and white? Perhaps someone in early life has a faulty opinion about you, which sets you up for a habit of not seeing yourself clearly. If you pull this card in relation to others, this is an invitation to look in the mirror. The more you judge others, the more self-judgment you have to clear within. Um, I guess I can see that because I don't know what the Pluto transit is gonna hold for me. So I'm kind of like already thinking things.
Yeah. I mean, this card really, when I pull it, it points out that I'm caught in some kind of duality, that there's going to be a right way or a wrong way,
Mm,
right? That I could do something right, or I could do something wrong. And the reality is there's no right or wrong. It's really an invitation to go beyond this, whatever the question is, that there's going to be a right way to do this, that there's a wrong way to do this, that you have to get it right.
Mm.
You know, kind of like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's how I feel with the transit. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in the in between, you know, like a judgment thing in between something.
Yeah. And the all is held in divine perfection, including you. There's that picture of the nautilus shell, and in the symbol there, on the card, so each card has its symbolism and meaning. The nautilus shell, it's kind of talking about the divine proportion in all of nature. So everything in this world has this geometric, mathematical equation that has to do with beauty and perfection in it.
Right.
And so even things we judge, right, that are imperfect, that can't possibly be right, behind it all is this more holistic reality, spirit reality, which is all is perfect. You know, all
That
is
makes complete sense.
already, everything is going according to plan. You
Oh
know,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That
yeah,
totally makes sense because my question was about the Pluto transit, and that's
yeah.
exactly what is. It's like exactly what you said. It's like the shell. It's like divine proportion. It's divine timing, right?
Yeah, there's a beauty and a perfection even in these what we might call difficult passages. And I think what you're probably struggling with is the conditioning that
Mm.
anybody who knows a bit about astrology struggles with, is that we have these stories now. We have other people's stories, we have historical stories about what could happen, you know, what could go wrong. There's that wrong word, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's exactly true. That's how I feel. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it did bring some clarity now for me.
Yeah. So just allowing yourself to be held in divine perfection, allowing that to be true, you know, really like energetically anchoring into that. Like, actually, that is the truer reality. And
Mm.
it's only the stories that you get caught up in that are taking you into these fear-based places.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So these cards can be pulled daily, right? I mean, for those who don't know how to use these cards, I mean, if you want some answers, I guess, if you're kind of stuck and you want some kind of, right, some kind of,
Sure. I mean, honestly, the way I would use them is I would be like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm very empathic. And so a lot of my awakening around this deck had to do with, well, around the work in this deck had to do with the energies I was experiencing in the world and not really understanding and not really understanding why I was feeling what I was feeling. So I would call most of my early deck work was in crisis. Like, this became the thing that I would turn to help guide me through really tough emotional spots. But what I've discovered since then is I've moved out of that more intense place and into you know, place of greater peace and clarity, I guess you might call. This can be used in so many ways. It can be used a daily card draw, a weekly card draw. A number of people have told me they work with it to just at the beginning of their week, like, you know, a Monday card, right? Like, what does spirit want me to know about this week? What might I, you know, do to help myself through this week? And I just did a card draw, a 3-card spread last week. No, this Monday about this week. And I got 3 cards and I had no idea why I was drawing these 3 cards, but I just watched it all play out throughout the week.
oh
And
yeah, yeah,
it was really helpful for me. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, that's this, right? That card is pointing to this experience right now. And I have a greater understanding about how to handle this, right? As it comes up. So it's just really cool that way.
yeah. No, yeah. I totally understand. It's like tarot decks, you know. I mean, you pull a card, right? But this one, yeah. I mean, it really does help when you pull cards and to give you some guidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you offer these classes. I know it's already starting though, right? You have a class.
So I have one starting up in the middle of June. So I have one spot open. There's still time for one more person in that class.
Okay.
And it's become your own intuitive guide, and it's using the intuitive energy deck. You have to have a card deck because we like share our card draws, and then we do some energy work, and then we usually talk about a really interesting topic related to intuition and just
Okay.
being more awake and aware in the world.
And anybody can actually sign up. That they don't have to live in Hawaii, right?
No, it's on Zoom, so
Okay.
you just have to be able to attend the timing of noon Hawaii time. They have to be able to convert it to a comfort zone that works for them timing wise. But yeah, anybody can come. You can get the card deck on my website, which you said moonkissd.com, or you can also get it on Etsy. I'm also on Etsy now. So
Wow. And then if you want to check out her other books, the other one's on the fifth house, which is also an interesting one. And that's where your Pluto's going to.
not yet. Just when I got to understanding what it felt like in the fourth house.
Well, you got the fifth house, so you got it all written up now.
Yeah, right. I wrote the book already, so I should be cool.
And then you have a book on Venus. This is another good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a fifth house book. Here's that one. Yeah. Which,
Yeah,
karmic
I like that too.
momentary mates, the people we meet who don't stay in our lives forever and kind of surprise us and shock us with their appearance. And then
So the fifth house are people that don't stick around for a long time, right?
right.
So the people that stick around for a long time is the people in the fourth house,
Mm-hmm.
the seventh, and the eighth
Mm-hmm.
from Evolutionary. Is that right? The eighth.
Basically, yeah. And yeah, generally speaking, I would say that's all true. Yeah. And the fifth house is that kind of that short-term exchange of falling in love oftentimes with somebody that you aren't meant to be with forever, or somebody who, the one who got away, my favorite mistake, all the cliches, the country songs.
Or
Very inspiring house for art, and it's
oh
also
yeah,
the house of art. Yeah.
or they can move from the fifth to the seventh, right? Depending on who they are. Is that?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So it's not, it's not a sentence. It's just a predominant quality. So if you can get past the falling in love phase and move on to the seventh house, you got a life
Yeah,
partner.
I was watching something from Stephen Forrest, and he was talking about something like the people that's in your fourth house are the people that you go to their funerals.
Right? That makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
doesn't it? To
Yeah,
you.
it's family. Yeah, it's like it's
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
And it's your tribe, and it's not even necessarily your biological family. It could be your who you consider family. I think
Mhm.
that's important too.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see that.
Yeah.
That's why I love astrology, because I'm still discovering new things, even in my birth chart. I see things that as I learn them.
And
But
you're still teaching me. I mean, gosh, shepherd, the asteroid. I just lie. I just when I start to get bored, I'm like, yeah.
well, I was looking for Jessica, but I couldn't. There were so many Jessica. I mean, there wasn't just Jessica. There was Jessica something something something, and I didn't want to use that, right? So I went,
Yeah,
why don't I look for Shepherd? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, it's like interesting. It's right. I mean, I kid you not. I mean, it's right there, close to the IC.
that is so cool. And a shepherd class, what a shepherd is. Shepherd, I mean, it's somebody leading a flock, right? So there's also teaching qualities
Right.
and yeah, to that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, gosh, thank you so much for joining me on the show and talking about your book and your amazing cards. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and Alice again sometime. When you guys I know you guys will work together in something again. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me. It's
Oh yeah,
always
of course.
so
Jessica
great
Shepherd.
having you.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you.
I can feel you are a true fan, and that you have a love for my work, and that I really felt that, and that made it
Well,
easy.
I love reading different books in astrology, and I'm still learning a lot. And I wish I started this journey when I was much younger, but it wasn't time. I've always liked astrology, but not in the depth that I'm learning it now. That I'm still
Yeah,
experiencing things. Yeah, I'm just learning. I didn't know this transit. I didn't know that there are transits. I didn't know that the Pluto would be. And now I totally understand. There's so much more to astrology. It's not just about the
yeah.
transits, and
It,
there's like yeah.
you
But
can really go so many places with it, and you can really spend a lifetime with it. If you have a curious mind, it helps, and you like to know about yourself. Those two things come to astrology.
yeah, so if you wanna check out her website, moonkissd.com, and of course her books, and it's available there as well, and in Etsy, right? Your books are in where are they available?
The books are on Amazon.
On Amazon.
All of
Okay.
them are on Amazon. So you just would, yeah, I have an author page there, so you can go there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Let me just turn this off. Thank you.
Thank you.